Hey, John, excuse me just a second. We're going to turn this off so everybody can hear a little better. Huh?
All you would not hear.
Oh, that one's okay, I think. This is pretty loud over here.
Right. The county board meeting of May 8th was embarrassing, and you should be ashamed of yourselves for letting it continue. It started the night before at the airport meeting when Adonis misled the advisory board about the subject of her presentation to this board. Her response to one question about it was that she wanted to talk about the advisory board, completely evading the true answer. On May 8th, she stated the county board used to have respect for each other when she was a board member. She said she doesn't see that respect on this board, and then she verbally trashed 3 board members in the public meeting. Those board members had no chance for rebuttal, and I thought she was concerned about lack of respect, but I guess not. She stated she took pictures of airplanes because the county's insurance company, Diamond Brothers, needed to know how many airplanes belonged to Rusty Bug. Why if they're only interested in those planes and not the owners of all the airplanes at the airport? Then she started talking about how the business lease, when presented to the state's attorney, was basically so screwed up it was worthless, which was another lie. The majority of the few problems he pointed out were things that Ben Jennison insisted were worded that way, and all of us knew it violated the law and common sense when he insisted the words be changed. Now they had to put it back to the way it was originally, and the way they were working on prior to the direct install tactics. She wanted to say how qualified she was because her father donated money to the airport several years ago. FOIA request to Jimmy Wells revealed that there were no donation records in his name or in Mego's name. His name does not appear on the plaques honoring the generous supporters at the airport. And then she tried gaining support from Carl by reminding him of favors her father did for him in the past. Do money and favors automatically make a person qualified? What are her qualifications to be on board? She had questions about 3 other board members' qualifications. Her father donated money, even though there's no proof of it. Her father owned an airplane and gave Carl a couple free rides. I guess that qualifies. Does she know which statute the airport operates under? Probably not, because nobody else does either. She said the space RSV is renting is causing a problem for visiting pilots. Have any complaints? I haven't heard of any complaints. Now to the subject of the business lease at the airport meeting. Donna and Jimmy flat out lied to the advisory board, and I think that you, Chris, convinced them to say what they said. Donna stated in a public airport meeting that she talked to Mr. Milatnik at the FAA and IDOT Division of Aeronautics, and that the FAA and IDOT Division of Aeronautics said it was mandatory that they look at the lease and that they had to look at it, and she stressed that twice. Jimmy said the Fed, state, and locals approved the hangar lease. I submitted a FOIA to FAA and IDOT asking him those questions, and Carl's got their answer. I gave it to him in the print this morning. Their answer in writing was that there was no such rule or policy that required them to look at any lease, let alone approve it. They did say that they would look at it if they were asked, and when they're asked, they only look to see if it conforms with grant assurances. I believe that Donna and Jimmy should be fired for that reason alone, lying to their board. You must think we're all blind. Rest assured we can see what you're doing and for the most part figure out your next move. On May 8th, I wrote an article in which I stated that you guys were setting the stage to make a claim that nobody will donate any more money as long as RSD is there. Which more information came out on that on Monday, basically verifying what I wrote on May 8th. And I say that money is not needed when people threaten to withhold it based on who gets the contract. It is instead a bribe, and the people of Edgar County do not want any part of it. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Everybody on the board had a chance to read the powers and duties of the county statute.
No response? There's usually no response because you've been advised by legal counsel that this is not a question and answer session. And under the Open Meetings Act, that would be correct. Under the county code, however, at each regular and special meeting, which is open to the public, members of the public and employees of the county shall be afforded time, subject to reasonable constraints, to comment or to ask questions of the board. Why do you suppose we have the right to ask questions? It's because the legislative intent was to be able to get answers to those questions. I would encourage that we at least get some answers to the questions that might avoid a whole bunch of lawsuits. Mr. Patrick, you said Monday that the Airport Advisory Board approved the Airport Manager's Manual. You've said numerous times that that's an advisory board that cannot take action. It doesn't take action. County board's never approved it, so how is it that that advisory board did that? You specifically said you guys don't have any authority to take action. Another example of you can't be trusted. We still would like to know the total of the CD and an explanation as to why it never showed up on any county audit. I noticed this morning, hadn't really paid attention to each line item on what Mr. Wiseman handed out. There's a line entry on here titled Edgar County Jail Donation. I suspect that was an account set up for when jail donations came in. It was tracked. How come that's never happened at the airport, Mr. Patrick? Those are public funds. That's a question I would like an answer to. Under the statute, I believe I'm entitled to that answer. Does this board have copies of the insurance coverage for the farmers leasing county-owned ground? Is the county named on that policy? If they've hired help, has the county ensured that the workers' comp has the county named on the policy, as is being required of RSB? Next topic. Prior to the county turning over property to the ambulance, that building was county property. Did the county require the ambulance company to place the county on its workman's comp insurance? I don't believe so. If you're looking for a place to raise funds for the 2 airport projects that have popped up, I suggest you take action to collect on Mr. Bergen's $100,000 that was never paid for his purchase of the county ambulance. You still have till October to do that. Excuse me, September, end of September is the deadline. Has anyone here read the mass transit statute? You're going to take action regarding the mass transit. I would suggest you read that statute before you take that action. It appears you may be not be following the statute as it relates to that district and the plans you have. The county owns 2 of the mass transit buses, which amazingly nobody here really knew that until here recently. Why would we give away and not sell them? Why would we just give them away? If you're going to give them away, doesn't it make sense to give one to the sheriff's department to still use for prisoner transport? If the jail gets closed,
Somebody's down. Somebody's down. They're all about it.
Somebody's flat.